Be sure to hit that like button, share your insights in the comments, and subscribe to keep up with our newest stories. On a languid Tuesday afternoon, the house exuded an eerie stillness, as if it were pausing in anticipation. Just as I completed folding the final piece of laundry and pondered indulging in a second cup of coffee, the doorbell chimed. I was caught off guard by the unexpected visitor. I dried my hands on a kitchen towel, feeling a mix of curiosity and surprise. Since my son moved out, my house has settled into a gentle, solitary cadence. These days, visitors were a rarity, and surprises were even scarcer. I swung the door open, and for an instant, I stood still, captivated. There he was, standing with that effortless, warm smile and eyes that still glimmered with a youthful allure. Ryan, my son's best friend from childhood. "Hey, Mrs. Bennett," he said, a familiar boyish grin playing at the corners of his lips. As I was cruising through the neighborhood, I decided to make a quick stop. I hope this isn't an inconvenient moment. Balanced. It had been more than a decade since I last laid eyes on him. The most recent occasion he occupied my kitchen table, he was an awkward teenager sporting unkempt hair and a backpack brimming with video games. He now stood taller and broader, his once slender frame transformed with age and confidence. That voice, deeper and richer, still carried the playful lilt I remembered so well. Equally balanced. Wow, incredible! I inhaled sharply, swinging the door open wider. Step right in, step right in. Take a moment to appreciate yourself. You've transformed remarkably. We shared a quick embrace. With a warm demeanor and a polite smile, he entered the room, his eyes wandering with a blend of nostalgia and curiosity. The house remained largely the same, familiar furniture, identical images adorning the wall. Now, the silence lingered, untouched by the scurry of boys' footsteps or the relentless buzz of video games. "I can hardly believe how much time has passed," I remarked, gesturing for him to take a seat. "How's it going? How is your family doing? What draws you back to this place?" He grinned while perched on the edge of the couch, primarily focused on work. "Tomorrow, I have an important business meeting in the city. I decided to take a stroll down memory lane before the whirlwind begins." I brewed a robust cup of coffee infused with a touch of cinnamon, reminiscent of the times when the boys were here. We gathered around the kitchen table, the very spot where homework was tackled or at least feigned. He shared stories of his life in Seattle, his career in architecture, and his adventures around the globe. I listened intently, captivated by a curious blend of pride and an elusive sensation, perhaps an ache, a deep yearning. Amidst the warmth of the second cup and a shared chuckle over the time, he accidentally shattered my favorite lamp while attempting to juggle oranges. It dawned on me that I was lost in thought, simply staring. He had transformed from that awkward boy with skinned knees and a crooked smile. He had transformed into a man poised, reflective, and undeniably charming. It took me by surprise. "Do you still recall that lamp?" He let out a soft chuckle, his fingers running through the hair at the nape of his neck. "I honestly believed you were going to kick me out of the house after that." "I ought to have," I playfully remarked, shaking my head. "You've always had a knack for effortlessly navigating your way out of sticky situations." He looked at me then, truly gazed. His gaze lingered on mine for just a heartbeat longer than necessary, and warmth crept into my cheeks. I averted my eyes, focusing on arranging the cups instead. "Will you be in town this evening?" "I haven't quite figured that out yet. I was considering reserving a hotel after dinner." "That's just absurd," I replied almost too hastily. "Feel free to make yourself at home. The guest room is ready, and it's just me wandering through this spacious old house." He paused, but just for an instant. "If you're confident." "I wouldn't want to impose." "You don't come across as imposing." "Having someone around would be wonderful." While I prepared dinner, he stayed in the kitchen, eager to lend a hand. We navigated around one another with a surprising ease, the type that emerges from the tapestry of history, woven with shared memories nestled in the nooks of every space. We gathered around the dining table, with a soothing jazz playlist gently playing in the background. The dialogue unfolded seamlessly. We shared memories, exchanged laughter, and gradually, almost without realizing it, found ourselves navigating deeper conversations. We delved into the loss of cherished ones, the weight of our regrets, and the bittersweet sensation of aging, as if the finest moments of life had quietly slipped away. "I've never shared this before," he said softly, his gaze fixed on his plate, "but you've always been a bit of a role model for me." I looked at him, taken aback. "Your presence was inviting and powerful. This house has always felt like a true home because of you." A sensation gripped my chest, leaving me uncertain whether it was gratitude, guilt, or a flutter of an emotion long forgotten. "Thank you," I murmured gently. "It signifies so much more than you realize." The evening lingered endlessly. The clock ticked past 11, and our conversation flowed effortlessly, legs tucked beneath us on the couch, wine glasses cradled in our hands, the distance between us gradually diminishing. Suddenly, a moment of silence enveloped the scene. A gentle, profound hush. He looked at me, his eyes soft and kind. "May I pose a question to you?" I nodded, feeling a sense of uncertainty about what lay ahead. "Have you ever had the sensation of missing out on an opportunity? Something tailored just for you?" I blinked, taken by surprise. I whispered constantly, "Life doesn't always consult us on our desires, does it?" He nodded, his eyes unwaveringly fixed on mine. "Perhaps on occasion." "Absolutely." The atmosphere became charged with feeling, an unarticulated yet palpably genuine presence. A tug, an opportunity awaits. In that instant, I understood that a transformation had occurred. A boundary transcended, not through words or gestures, but through a single glance. A common reality. Experienced the thrill of emotions once more. An unforeseen twist, a profoundly human experience. Sleep eluded me that night. As I reclined in bed, my gaze fixed on the ceiling, my mind surged with a flurry of thoughts like it hadn't in years. The house was still, yet the silence had lost its sense of comfort. The atmosphere was electric, reminiscent of the moments leading up to a summer storm. Even was situated in the guest room right across the hallway, the very room where my mother once resided, the very bed where my son's friends would settle in after marathon gaming sessions. This time, the atmosphere in that room was no longer defined by a boy's presence. A man stood there, and for reasons I still needed to clarify, that was significant. I attempted to convince myself it was insignificant, just a familiar face stopping by. I'm simply getting up to speed. Yet, beneath the surface, I sensed that something had awakened this evening. A glance, a query, an unexpected shared vulnerability that unlocked a door for both of us. The following morning, I prepared breakfast as a matter of routine. Fluffy scrambled eggs, perfectly toasted bread, and a steaming cup of coffee. Yet, I proceeded with a deliberate pace, fully attuned to my surroundings. The floorboards creaked softly, light filtered through the curtains at an angle, and the refrigerator emitted a gentle hum. Everything appeared more vibrant. He descended dressed in a simple gray t-shirt and comfortable sweatpants, with bare feet and tousled hair from a night of slumber. Seeing him like that was undeniably disarming. Relaxed and open, recognizable but with a fresh twist. "Morning," he said, flashing a sleepy smile. There's an enticing aroma in the air. "Good morning," I said, glancing back at the stove. "Eggs reminiscent of kopu. Only if they come with a side of cinnamon coffee," he playfully remarked. I chuckled quietly. "Oh, how fortunate you are." We shared a comfortable silence for a time. The soft clinking of forks against plates, the sole sound connecting us. Yet, the silence felt perfectly at ease. The silence enveloped them, a comforting presence shared by those who trust one another deeply. Following breakfast, we found ourselves relaxing on the back porch. This year's garden is bursting into bloom ahead of schedule. The tulips and daffodils swayed softly in the spring breeze, while the trees began to don their vibrant green once more. He reclined in the chair, savoring his coffee, his gaze sweeping over the yard. "Are you still tending to the garden?" Each year, I agreed. "It's a form of therapy, I suppose. It's stunning and serene." We lingered in silence, simply being together, lost in the moment. It was a unique pleasure, an unexpected delight to have someone by my side sharing this serene morning moment without the need for chatter. Out of the blue, he revealed, "I nearly tied the knot a few years back." I glanced over at him. "Is that so?" "Absolutely." Emily was her name. Our journey spanned 3 incredible years together. The conclusion came softly. There were no major confrontations, just an understanding that our desires diverged. A moment of silence lingered. I patiently waited. Deep down, I sensed that I wasn't presenting myself as I ought to have. A crucial element was absent. "It's not coming from her, it's coming from me." I nodded thoughtfully, taking in his words. Often, we remain unaware of what we lack until it is mirrored back to us by someone else. He looked at me then, truly gazed, and I felt it once more, that irresistible pull. Beyond mere attraction lies a profound connection, rich depth, and genuine recognition. "You've changed," he said softly. "Could you elaborate on that?" You appear more gentle and composed, yet there's a newfound strength within you, as if you've reconciled with something significant. I've given that some thought. Perhaps I've discovered my true self, or maybe I've simply ceased the act of being someone else. A gentle breeze stirred, playfully sweeping a strand of hair across my face. He instinctively reached out, gently tucking it behind my ear. His fingers hesitated, lingering for a heartbeat longer than needed. My heart skipped a beat. I've been making an effort to suppress it, yet it lingers within me. The silence spoke volumes. He hasn't kissed me, not just yet. He took a small step back, creating space, not from uncertainty, but from a place of respect. I want to take my time with this, he said, and I never want you to question whether it was merely a fleeting moment. I gave a nod. I feel the same way. We transitioned to the cozy room where the fire softly crackled once more. We sat next to each other, just within reach to sense the warmth of our proximity, yet maintaining a distinct boundary between us. That line, slender and fragile, throbbed between us like a heartbeat. He extended his hand, placing it softly over mine. It's not about a move or a claim. It's all about forging a connection. We lingered in that moment, enveloped in silence as the flickering firelight wove its magic across the walls. At last, he rose to his feet. I should turn in, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Sure, I responded, feeling an unexpected dryness in my throat. He cast one final glance my way, a gaze brimming with all the unsaid emotions lingering between us, before vanishing down the corridor. I lingered in that moment, my hands still buzzing from his touch, my heart brimming with an emotion I hadn't experienced in ages. It's not mere infatuation or a fleeting fantasy. It's the essence of hope. For the first time in years, it felt safe to embrace it. As dawn approached, I rose early the following morning, long before the sun started to cast its first light through the curtains. The house was silent once more, yet this time there was an unmistakable shift in the atmosphere. Not lonely, simply serene and content. Perched on the edge of my bed, I took a moment to collect my thoughts. The happenings of the past 2 days enveloped me like a whisper of vintage fragrance, subtle, recognizable, yet unmistakably there. The warmth of his hand lingered on mine, and the intensity of his gaze spoke volumes, making me feel like I was more than just a memory from his past. I was someone who truly mattered in the present. Descending the stairs barefoot, I felt the cool wooden floor beneath my feet as I began brewing the coffee. To my surprise, Ryan was already at the kitchen table, scrolling through something on his phone. He wore that familiar soft gray t-shirt and had a quiet smile on his face. "Good morning," I said softly. He glanced upward, and his smile grew even brighter. "Good morning." It was a moment free of awkwardness and tension, enveloped in a serene closeness that suggested we were already on the brink of something new, even if the words remained unspoken. I passed him a steaming cup of coffee and took a seat directly across from him. We enjoyed our drinks in quietude for a moment, allowing the warmth to envelop us completely. "You know," he finally said, "I've been thinking a lot about last night." "I'll own up to that, I did." He placed his cup on the table and leaned in a bit, his gaze earnest. I truly meant what I expressed. I'm seeking something lasting. I didn't return with expectations, but now that it's in front of me, I can't bear to turn away from it. The part of me that had become accustomed to solitude, that had assured itself I was beyond the age of opportunities, felt the urge to push back. Yet the other side, the more serene and insightful aspect, merely acknowledged with a nod. "I'm not quite sure what this is just yet," I admitted, "and I'm not prepared to label it, but I can feel its authenticity and uniqueness, and I have no intention of shying away from that." His hand grasped mine once more, this time with a calm assurance. There was a calmness in the air, an unspoken agreement that a new chapter was unfolding. The remainder of the morning was blissfully spent strolling through the garden. He assisted me in pruning the winter branches and inquired about the flowers I had planted. We flowed together like familiar companions, two souls exploring one another not as we once were, but as we have become. As the afternoon wore on and he prepared to return to the city, the atmosphere between us was light, filled with warmth and the anticipation of what was to come. "I want to return," he said, standing at the door. "I suggest you do," I said with a smile. "I have exciting plans for the garden, and I'll require someone with height to access the top shelves." He let out a chuckle, but then fell silent for a moment. "I'm really glad I came," he remarked. "I feel the same way." He leaned in and kissed me softly with a warmth that spoke of sincerity, as if he had no need to impress, only a desire to share, and I allowed myself to embrace it. As he drove off, I lingered by the window, observing the swirling dust that his car had kicked up in its wake. Yet I felt no sadness, for I understood this wasn't the end. A new chapter was unfolding, one I never imagined I would pen. As I shifted my gaze from the window to the kitchen, a feeling blossomed within me. More than just hope, it was a serene joy of rediscovery. I realized that life still held the power to surprise me, that love could still make its entrance, not with grand gestures and loud proclamations, but softly, unexpectedly, like a gentle knock on the door from someone I believed was lost to time. At times, that's precisely what we require the most.